Advocacy Director at NAC. Hopefully all of you can hear me. This is the National Health Center Week Kickoff Planning Webinar. Hopefully everyone is aware the dates for National Health Center Week this year are August 9th to the 15th. We're going to talk about why we host National Health Center Week during the month of August every year. But before we go ahead and get started, just a few housekeeping items. If you have questions at any point, you can go ahead and type your question into the chat box. The default audio connection is through your computer's speakers. So if you can't hear us, which it will make it difficult if you're not hearing me, you're going to have to hopefully follow the screen in front of you and just type your questions into the chat box, and we will go ahead and answer those as soon as we can. Unfortunately, there's not a way for us to unmute you guys because there are so many folks on the line, and the background noise makes it almost impossible to be able to speak with people directly. But we're really excited to be able to communicate with you in the chat box, and then certainly if you have any questions for us coming out of the webinar, don't ever hesitate to be in touch directly. You can always email us at grassroots@nac.com, or you can call us at the NAC office, 202-296-3800, and just ask for a member of the NAC advocacy team. So this is what our graphic this year looks like, and I'm going to talk about the theme in a couple of slides here, but just to give you guys a little preview, again, the dates for National Health Center Week this year are August 9th to the 15th. I really want to take a second also as we get started here to recognize our premier National Health Center Week sponsor, McKesson. McKesson provides an enormous amount of support to National Health Center Week as our premier sponsor. And what that means is that we're actually able to put more resources directly into the field to support you guys, the health centers, in your planning efforts and at your events directly. McKesson will be sponsoring 50 local events this year. The best way to be eligible for one of those event sponsorships is to post your event information on the National Health Center Week website. That's where I go to look for information about what's happening across the country, and then to be able to work with McKesson to identify which health centers will receive those sponsorships. But again, honestly, Health Center Week grows year after year after year, and that's in large part because of the support we receive from our sponsors, the largest of which is McKesson. And so just a huge, huge thanks to McKesson as a company, as a wonderful partner, and to the entire team for their help on National Health Center Week and for all of the incredible support they provide on the ground. It's bigger than just providing dollars in the form of sponsorships. McKesson often sends boots on the ground to support your events, as well as collateral and materials that you can hand out at your events on site. So just wonderful, wonderful support from those guys. We can't thank them enough, and make sure to post your events for National Health Center Week 2015 so that we can look for ways to connect you with those 50 sponsorships that will be coming from McKesson this year. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right in here for National Health Center Week planning. So the theme this year for National Health Center Week is America's Health Centers, Celebrating Our Legacy, Shaping Our Future. The theme is really important this year in particular because it ties in with our 50th anniversary. What an incredible, special year it is for the Health Center program. And even if your health center is brand new, only a couple of years old, you belong to a 50-year program, a 50-year movement. There are so few federal programs that are in a position to speak to that. And it's a great opportunity in terms of how you can use National Health Center Week to showcase all of the incredible work that you're doing at your health center. But really, the reason that we devised the theme the way we do is to provide you guys with a hook for how you might develop your event. So again, America's Health Centers, Celebrating Our Legacy, Shaping Our Future. We really want to capitalize on the wonderful legacy of the program, the 50-year history, what we've been able to do in serving as the backbone of the healthcare system, but also the future of the program and the role that you all will play and every single health center in America is going to play in driving us into the future of healthcare and continuing to serve as that incredibly successful foundation. So if you can, build upon that theme, look for ways to construct your event and develop your event using that theme as sort of a hook. So you've heard me mention already, we're only about 5 minutes into this webinar, you've heard me mention already the importance of posting your events. There's an easy way to do that. you can go to the National Health Center Week website. It's www.healthcenterweek.org. And from there, you will find or see a tab specifically dedicated to events. It's the second tab when you arrive on the home page. You want to choose Submit Your Event. The website for that is www.healthcenterweek.com/submit-your-event.cfm. We're going to make these slides available after the webinar today, and that link will be hyperlinked so that you can access. But the big deal is to make sure you go to that page and put all of your event information in. It's going to ask you for a password. The password is healthy, all lowercase letters. The reason it asks you for a password is that, boy, wouldn't you know, with the internet, we always run into problems with spam. And so we're trying to make sure that the event posts that we receive are actually from health centers and not those in the spam world. But make sure you post your event information there. If you've used the interface in the past, oftentimes it will remember your information, so you won't have to fully fill out each of the fields. But what we're really looking for is the date, the location, the event format, and whether or not you've invited any special guests, whether it's members of Congress or local elected officials, media, etc. These are all the types of information that really help us to pair you with any potential sponsors or resources that we might have to be able to support you in your planning and your execution of your event. So again, make sure you go to the Health Center Week website and post your events, and don't forget that the password is healthy. That's for everybody, H-E-A-L-T-H-Y, all lowercase letters. So moving on here, what is it that you can do in order to have a successful event? There are lots and lots of elements to creating a successful Health Center Week event and week. But there are some easy steps that will help you to be successful. One is to start early, which we're doing. I am so proud and grateful and excited to have so many of you participating in the webinar today. The earlier that you start thinking about National Health Center Week, the more likely you are to have a huge success. Determining the types of events you'd like to hold and creating an invitation and a possible sponsors list, really just giving yourself a roadmap to what you want to accomplish during National Health Center Week is one of the very best ways, starting early, to be successful. The next is that it really requires a team of people to be successful, and that's not always possible. Sometimes a team is just 2 or 3 people, but I think being able to create a committee, considering working with other partners, sort of local organizations in the community or business partners, and making sure that you have the participation and the support of your health center leadership and your board. You've got to have all these different stakeholders involved in a lot of cases in order to make sure that you're planning and able to execute a successful event. So along with starting early, thinking about who are the key players that can help you to be successful. One of the next pieces is outreach. Coming up with invitations to local, state, and federal elected officials. And I'm going to pause there. A lot of people ask year to year, why is it that we do National Health Center Week, that we host National Health Center Week in August? You know, it's so hot and people are in the middle of their vacations, and depending on what part of the country you're in, there are so many other things going on, and maybe you're getting ready to go back to school. You know, what is it about August? Why can't we move it? Well, the thing about National Health Center Week is that we really want to use the week as an opportunity to get particularly members of Congress out to our health centers to see all of the incredible work that you guys are doing on the ground and to celebrate with us about the success of the program and how much you're bringing to your communities. And the important thing here, the critical thing to the timing, is that Congress is on recess every August for the entire month. And so we choose the second week of August every year for National Health Center Week because it is the best opportunity to get those members of Congress, and in some cases, members of the White House, staff at the White House and the administration also to participate in National Health Center Week. So there really is a reason and a purpose to the timing. We know that for some folks, the second week in August is tricky, and what I would tell everybody is, you know what, as Health Center Week has grown, it's become Health Center Month. So really any time during the month of August, we would consider it a National Health Center Week event. But that's the reason for the timing. We really want to try our hardest to make sure that we're able to provide opportunities that work with the congressional calendar so that we can get members of Congress out to the health centers to celebrate with you. And again, to make sure that they're reminded and educated about all the incredible work going on the ground at health centers. So getting back to outreach, once you've come up with your invitation list and you've created the actual invitation and you've gotten those out at least preliminarily to your local, state, and federal elected officials, you also want to think about seeking sponsors. You want to come up with a list of potential sponsors and start having those conversations to get the word out. Even if you can't get a commitment at this point in the planning process, the earlier you can start having the conversations, the better. A lot of potential sponsors, depending on who you're reaching out to, have their own timeline for when and how they choose different organizations and events that they want to support. So the sooner that you can come up with your list, the sooner that you can begin those discussions, the better. The other piece is the media. A lot of times we forget about the importance of reaching out to local media, whether it be TV or radio or newspaper, and these days online. But that has to be a part of your outreach plan, and that'll make it much easier to be successful in the long run. One of the fourth really important elements of success in terms of hosting successful National Health Center Week events is persistence. A lot of the most successful health centers and the biggest, greatest events that I see start by creating a timeline, and they continue reaching out to their elected officials, the media, and other invitees leading up to their event, but they never give up. And when they receive a no, they don't view it as a fail. They view it as an opportunity to build on that relationship. But the first piece is to make sure you have a timeline so that you're holding yourself and your planning accountable so that you know every step of the way who and how you're supposed to be doing that outreach. The other piece is to have a communications plan. You want to make sure that the plan includes regular updates for sponsors and attendees and the public to make sure that you're getting the word out and letting folks know when the big event is due to happen, big or small, but when you're going to be celebrating. And again, when we talk about persistence, sometimes it takes tons and tons of follow-up, whether it be with a congressional office or a media outlet or a local elected official, or even a community partner that you're seeking out to support you in a health fair, whatever the event format may be. Sometimes it takes several points of contact before you even get an answer. If it's not the answer you want, it doesn't mean that it's a failure. It just means, okay, here's a starting point. Let's see what we can do to build on that in the future. And the final piece to creating a successful week or set of events is to remember to say thank you. There's always a reason and a way that you can express appreciation when it comes to National Health Center Week. You can say thank you to your attendees and, of course, to your sponsors. You can also let them know, they being your supporters in the form of participants and non-participants, about how the event turned out. But the follow-up coming out of National Health Center Week is as important as the planning leading up to it. So that's a huge factor in making sure that your event and your week is a success, is thinking through, okay, what are we going to do to make sure that we do the follow-up and express our appreciation for those who did turn out to support us and also those who may have missed it this year, to let them know what a success it was. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about sponsorships, and the reason for that is year after year, that's the question that I get most often. What do we do? How can we draw new sponsors, and what is it that we can do this year in particular to attract the attention and the support of sponsors? The big thing to remember when we talk about sponsorship for National Health Center Week is that it doesn't always have to come in the form of a check or cash. It's always nice to have those unrestricted dollars. I'm with you guys, and I find myself in the same situation where I just wish and hope that we're going to have, you know, a wonderful check arrive in the mail that tells me, go build out your program, and there's no strings attached. Sometimes it happens with some hard work, but there are lots of other types of sponsorships that can help you to be successful with your events this year and in the future. Thinking about in-kind sponsorship, and we'll get into what that means, but in-kind sponsorship can be a hugely helpful type of sponsorship that I think oftentimes folks dismiss or don't think about, well, what is it? What are the other ways that our partners and our supporters can help us to have a successful event? And sometimes it's just participation. If you have an organization, a business, or a partner who is not in a position to write you a check or provide you with specific resources, but they can send people to be boots on the ground to help you to execute your event. That's an incredible, valuable sponsorship on its own feet. And so it's important to think about, if it's not in kind or it's not cash, are there other ways that you can draw upon support from your potential sponsors to draw them in and to have that participation? The other piece is to think about setting some goals. It's one thing to think about your event and, of course, to be estimating your costs and what you think you're going to need. What does that dollar amount look like? What's a reasonable budget for your event? And you'll hear me say later in the presentation, the size of your National Health Center Week event does not determine its success. And so it doesn't have to be a huge event for it to be a big splash or a hugely successful effort. It can be something very small and modest, but having a handle on what your costs are going to be, and it may be very, very small, is really important when you're thinking about how you may or may not approach sponsors, whether, again, it's cash or in kind or just in the form of participation. The other piece, when you're thinking about your goals, is to think about the previous year. Did you have sponsors last year? Were you successful or unsuccessful in figuring out what kinds of support you might need? How can you build on your experience from the previous year? And if it's your first year, start with the basics. Set an easy goal or a reasonable goal so that you can build upon it in the years to come. So what is it that you guys need to do in order to secure sponsors? The first thing I would suggest everyone do, and I think it's important to do it year to year because this list is going to change, is to get a good handle on who your contacts are. Who do your board members work with? Which companies and organizations do they belong to or have a relationship with? Are there people at the health center who have relationships with potential sponsors? And or who does the health center work with? There are a lot of different vendors and community partners and business partners that the health centers have a wonderful relationship with. These are the folks that should make up your potential list of sponsors. And so it's really important to talk with your colleagues and, of course, with your board members and think about where do you have contacts, where do you have potential sponsorship targets that you can work with. I think the other thing is thinking outside the box. And again, this goes back to there are a lot of different ways to leverage support from your business partners, individuals, other nonprofits. Again, it's thinking creatively about what you need in terms of support and how they can be involved in your event. And the last piece there is just a tip. Ask your sponsors to work for you. Ask for their help to make additional contacts and other sponsors for your event. You would be surprised the number of sponsors who are actually very, very willing to connect you with others in the industry or the community that are very excited to work with you and potentially to be a sponsor. So don't be shy about networking with your sponsors or with your business partners and the vendors that you work with and asking for their feedback about who may be interested in working with you on your event in the future. So a couple of other tips in terms of seeking those local sponsors. It's really important to do your homework. As I said, a lot of businesses, foundations, partners, many of them have a process and a procedure for how they go about providing support for particular events or different organizations. And so spending the time doing the research, whether it's online and you're investigating on their website or you have a conversation with your point of contact and asking them about, what's the process for sponsorships? Is there a procedure that I should follow? Making sure that you do the due diligence to make sure you understand is going to serve you well when it comes time to actually make the request for their support and that sponsorship. The other thing that you want to think about is preparing materials in advance. And so in many cases where you may need to provide a letter of request or provide some description of the type of event or activity you're planning for this year or reflect on the event that you might have held last year. These are the types of materials that some sponsors will ask you for, and so the more you can do to be prepared for that on the front end to produce these types of materials, the better. It's going to save you time in the long run. The other thing, of course, is to make sure you have a very clear idea of the benefits that you're prepared to provide for your sponsors should they decide to come on board to sponsor your events. So again, having a very clear, laid out plan for how you're going to reward and recognize your sponsors is important to have before you have any conversations with anyone about how you would like them to be involved with your event. And then again, just a few final takeaways. Start early. Use your guest list. I think a lot of times once you start speaking with sponsors, it's totally appropriate and okay to mention that to others that you are trying to attract to your event, either for the purpose of sponsorship or just participation. I think it's also okay to mention that you've invited special guests. For example, if you have provided an invitation to your member of Congress or your senators or your governor or even your mayor, sharing that information with potential sponsors is sometimes an attraction to them. So as long as you're not misrepresenting yourself, that's a very useful tool in attracting their attention and alerting them to the type of event you're intending to hold. And once you're able to gain confirmations from some of those folks in terms of those that you have on your guest list, I think that's where you can build upon the conversation and say, you know, we have commitment from such and such a member of Congress that they're going to be present for our event. We're really excited. We're building a program. This is what it's going to look like. Again, these are the types of discussions and bullets that will attract some of your sponsors to make that commitment to be involved with your event. And then the last piece is try not to be disappointed if a potential sponsor doesn't come in exactly where you wanted them to. It's sort of a take what you can get game, and I hate to use the word game, but when it comes to sponsorship, sometimes they start out very small, but year over year they build. And so it's really important to be gracious and appreciative of whatever form of support you receive, and just know that as you continue to build upon the relationship, the likelihood is that that support is going to continue to grow and evolve as well. So again, just to kind of walk through the basics here, sponsorships are going to come in all shapes and sizes. When we talk about money not being everything, there are a lot of really great examples out there that we see year to year that come in the form of, for example, who is it that the health center does business with in terms of your local restaurant or a catering company on a regular basis? Are they someone that can help to cater your event this year? Would you be comfortable? Is it reasonable to reach out to them and say, you know, we're going to be hosting an event, talk to your local grocery store. Do they have fresh produce that they might be willing to donate, or water bottles? There's some restrictions on those types of supports, but it never hurts to ask, and if you're doing a lot of business with them as a health center, it's totally appropriate to have those conversations. Other folks in the community, like the police and the fire department, again, depending on the type of event you plan to host and the format, it's totally reasonable and, quite frankly, sometimes a great draw to have the participation of the police and the fire department. If you're doing a back-to-school event, how excited are the kids going to be if there's a fire truck there or a police car there with staff relative from the departments? You know, it's a really great way to draw folks from the community, and again, it just depends on the type of event format that you're planning. But don't hesitate to think creatively about who from within the community could participate in your event and serve as a potential draw. And the last one there, local personalities. Is there somebody in the community that's really recognizable and known that would serve, again, as a draw for your event? Is there a radio personality or, you know, a very notable comedian who happens to yield from your area? These are the types of folks that typically will consider participating in your event and will serve as a huge draw for participation from within the community. Switching gears, when money is everything and you really are looking for those checks, we talked about coming up with your potential target list of sponsors. Some of those that should absolutely be at the top of your list is, you know, which bank do you work with at the health center? Which insurance company are you working with? Do you have an accounting firm that works at the health centers? Who are your suppliers? Who are your partners? Some of the more regular folks, although I would also say highly regulated when it comes to sponsorships, but some of the more regular names that you may want to consider and certainly be reaching out to would be your drug reps, your health plans, and lab companies. Again, these are all folks that do typically have some budget and some opportunity to be able to provide support to local organizations and specifically to events, but many of them do have a process and a procedure, and so the best place to start is with that initial conversation to just inquire and say, you know, we're planning on hosting an event for National Health Center Week. We'd be really interested in having your support. Is there a process for seeking sponsorships? And just await their response. The last place there, and you're going to hear this a lot, guys, please let us know what you're planning. Unfortunately, I'm not yet in a position to be able to provide a sponsorship for every single Health Center and Health Center Week event, although in my pie-in-the-sky dream, that is exactly what I would do year to year. But at this stage, we do work really, really hard to get as many sponsorships as we can out to the field and connect folks with those local sponsors. The best way for us to be able to do that is if you post your event information on the Health Center Week website so that we can learn about what you're planning and then make the connection with a potential sponsor. So I'm not going to go through all of this because we've basically just done that, but what you're seeing here is the steps for seeking local sponsors. This is a tool and a resource that we have listed on the National Health Center Week website. Again, it's www.healthcenterweek.org. And there are lots of wonderful tools, resources, and tips on there. But if you're interested in really walking through step by step, what is it that I need to do in order to seek my local sponsors, there is a helpful guide on there to follow. Again, if you have any questions, you can always email us at grassroots@nac.com. But if you haven't already, it may be worth taking a couple minutes to just walk through the 5 steps to seeking local sponsors. So let's spend a little time talking about National Health Center Week events. This is just a very, very short list of some of the events that we see year to year. I want to pause and actually really focus on the line there at the bottom, which is the size of your event has no bearing on the success of your celebration. The reason I say that is if it's the first time that you're doing National Health Center Week, or if you don't have a budget to put on a huge event, that doesn't mean that it's not going to be a successful week. One of the examples that I really love and I use every year is an event, or really just the first go-round, the first effort that a health center in California made to showcase National Health Center Week. They didn't have a huge budget. They didn't have, a ton of time to plan. They got a later start than they wanted. But they really wanted the community to know about National Health Center Week, about the resources that they provided, and the success that they were having in providing quality care to their community. So what they did is they actually bought a National Health Center Week banner, which they customized using their logo, and they talked with their city council, and they were able to hang the banner for the entire week on Main Street in their community. Now, this may seem like a relatively small thing, but in their community, where every single day folks are driving and walking down Main Street, the exposure that they got and the excitement they generated around National Health Center Week and the number of people that came into the health center just as a result of seeing that banner and hearing that it was reading that it was National Health Center Week was so invaluable to them. It yielded incredible opportunities to build new relationships. It yielded lots and lots of new patients for them. But more than anything, it was a tool for them to start conversations with others in the community about all of the incredible work that they do and to educate folks about the role that they play in the community. And that came at a cost of under $100. So it's one example of a first step in getting involved in National Health Center Week that was a wonderful success. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, we have health centers around the country who have been working on National Health Center Week and hosting events for 10 years now. And every year they put on events with thousands of people, and they raise thousands and thousands of dollars in sponsorships. and they have participation with their members of Congress. And really what I'm telling everyone is that the sky's the limit. And so I think at this early stage, the great value that you all have, an opportunity that you all have, is that you have plenty of time to plan and to build out whatever type of event works for your health center, but making sure that you're showcasing the really important work that you're doing. And it may be that you have your own anniversary this year, or you want to recognize your staff for the incredible contributions that they make every day. Health Center Week really is about making the celebration your own. And so whether it is a health fair, or a groundbreaking and a ribbon cutting, or a voter registration drive, or a staff appreciation luncheon, or a 5K, or a kids coloring contest, it really can be anything you want it to be. It's just about taking the time and giving yourself appropriate time to plan and execute a great event. But we're here to help you guys, and I would love nothing more than to hear from you all and see those event posts and add to this list. I am so excited year after year to see new event ideas and to hear the excitement from the field about all the incredible work that's going on and the celebrations. So a couple of other things to remember as you're thinking about your event ideas is that within National Health Center Week every year, we recognize a few specific days and we celebrate the work that some health centers are doing to provide care to special populations. So each year, Tuesday of National Health Center Week is Public Housing Health Centers Day. Wednesday of National Health Center Week is Healthcare for the Homeless Day. And Thursday of National Health Center Week is Farm Worker Health Day. If you happen to be one of these types of grantees, that's your special day to really go above and beyond and showcase the incredible work that you're doing. If you are not a grantee for these special populations, it doesn't mean that you have to change anything. It just means that that's a day that we take aside to really celebrate the work that health centers do as a program to treat these special populations. So switching gears here, we're going to go through National Health Center Week in the media, and then we're going to turn things over to our National Health Center Week contest, and I'm going to introduce the rest of my team for that. But just to take a couple of minutes to talk about how you can use National Health Center Week as a PR tool, as a media hook. Every health center is different. Some health centers have communication staff, others do not. In my experience, most do not. But that's not a reason not to really be aggressive and thoughtful about what you can do to work with the media during National Health Center Week. I think the trick is you want to try to build relationships with members of the media the same way that you do with elected officials. The trick is to invite them out to the health center just to do a tour and to understand what you're doing. And that may take several attempts, but you want to, again, try to build that relationship and give them some foundational knowledge about what the health center is doing and the value and the services that you're providing to the community. The biggest thing when it comes to National Health Center Week in the media is to extend an invitation early. If you have an existing relationship with a member of the media in your community, getting the date or the event on their calendar early gives you the benefit of them knowing in advance, this is an important day, this is an event that I want to make sure I put a priority to. Perhaps they'll build a story about it heading into it. But the earlier you can give them a heads up, the better. But make sure you extend an invitation. The worst case scenario is that you pick up the phone the day of and say, hey, we're doing this event. I would still encourage you to do it, but the more notice you can give them, just as we would with any other relationship, the more notice you can give them, the better. The other thing is that we provide as many templates possible to make working with the media and alerting the media to all of the incredible events that you're doing and the work that you're doing as easy as possible. So every year we update what we call our National Health Center Week Media Toolkit. It includes template press releases, talking points, an opinion editorial, and often a letter to the editor. If you're not planning to host an event, sometimes submitting a letter to the editor in celebration of National Health Center Week is a really, really great way to showcase, again, the incredibly valuable role that your health center plays in your community and how you've been successful. Same thing with the opinion editorial. But I would encourage everybody to think about the ways in which you can work with your media both to promote and expose all of the great work that you're doing, to get them out on site to see the celebration, and to serve as sort of a megaphone for all of your celebrations. It really is supposed to be a positive week of fun and celebrating, and the media can help to raise your events and your promotions up to the next level. If you have any questions or you're worried about working with the media, you can certainly always reach out to us on the advocacy team, and our communication staff is also wonderful and always happy to work with you to make sure that you cover your bases working with local media. So other tools and resources that can be accessed on the National Health Center Week website. We've talked about the media toolkit and the templates. We've talked about the sponsorship, how-to. We do have a long list of event ideas. We have template resolutions and proclamations. We also have spaces on the website where you can share with us photos, videos, and stories from the field. And the last piece is that we do have a National Health Center Week store. Just in the past week or so, every single health center should have received our National Health Center Week mailer. That includes a letter from our Senior VP, Dan Hawkins, as well as a Health Center Week poster. If you are interested in obtaining more National Health Center Week posters, we do provide those in English and Spanish, but we also provide a lot of other items to help kind of make resources available to you guys to support your events. And we really try to be thoughtful of cost. So we provide items like National Health Center Week stands for those of you that are in warmer climates. We provide safety kits and hand sanitizers, water bottles, coloring books, really anything that we could think of that might be helpful to you guys in supporting your events. We try to come up with as many items as we can to support you, and many of them can be branded to support your health center locally, so you can make sure that you've got your health center name and logo right on this collateral. If you want to visit the store, you can go right to the National Health Center Week website. There's a tab specifically for the store, and you can click on the link to check out the store items and put your order in. So again, make sure that you give that a look and let us know if you have any questions. If you have a custom order or you're looking for something that you don't see on the store, don't ever hesitate to email us. Again, grassroots@nac.com. There's usually a way for us to make something work for you guys, and usually we can do it in the most cost-effective way possible so that you're not having to spend an arm and a leg on these resources. A couple of other quick things. A shout out to my team for updating the social media tools here, but National Health Center Week, as it has grown, the presence of National Health Center Week on social media has also grown exponentially. We specifically have a National Health Center Week hashtag. You can see it there, NHCW15. You'll see us promoting National Health Center Week really starting now right on through the actual week in August and thereafter using that National Health Center Week hashtag. But we really want to showcase what you guys are doing, and so don't be shy, again, about posting your events, but letting us know what you're up to and how you're planning and asking those questions, because, again, part of what we want to put out there for consumption over social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, YouTube, etc., is to share ideas and talk about the excitement as we ramp up towards that week. But we do put together specific social media tools to support you guys. That includes sort of these custom banners that you see in front of you here. Again, some of them can be customized so that you can tailor it to showcase your health center specifically. If you have requests in terms of things that you'd like to be able to put on social media or questions, don't be shy. Let us know. We're always happy to work with you and create something if it's not already available. So with that, I am going to turn the show over to my incredible team, starting with Dorian Wanzer. She is our Grassroots Advocacy Manager for Communications and Outreach. She is going to share the discussion with Grassroots Advocacy Manager Elizabeth Kwasnick and Grassroots Advocacy Manager for Special Populations Alex Harris. So I will turn it over to you guys to talk about this year's picture and video contest.
Okay, hi everyone, this is Dorian. So we want everybody to start thinking about pictures and videos that represent the work that you're doing during Health Center Week. We definitely want to celebrate it. The contest was great last year, so you can, throughout Health Center Week, you can submit photos and videos, but you can also submit specifically to the contest by visiting www.healthcenterweek.com/2015contest. And all of the information, the details, rules for submitting is online. And just to note, there's a 1 picture and video per person limit. So, but a health center can't have multiple people submit. So just keep that in mind. And I'm going to turn it over quickly to Elizabeth to talk about what's new this year.
Great, thanks, Dorian. So we do have a couple of adjustments to the contest from last year, and I just wanted to highlight a few of those things. This year we do have 2 categories that we are going to ask that you submit under, and on the submission form you will see that there is a drop-down menu, and you do have to select one of those 2 categories, and that is the theme of Health Center Week generally, which is celebrating our legacy, shaping our future, or a photo or video of the advocacy work that your health center does. And just to give you a couple of examples of pictures or videos that would count under the advocacy work category, that could be staff or patients signing petitions or writing letters of support, a member of Congress visiting your health center during Health Center Week, or your health center collaborating with community partners to raise awareness, or having them sign local letters of support, etc. And more guidance on that can be found in the rules that are on the website that Dorian just mentioned. The other thing that's different this year is the timeline. The submission period is going to run from August 1st through the 21st. We'll announce finalists on Monday, August 24th, and that will commence voting through the end of that week on Friday the 28th. And then we will announce the winners after we count up all the votes on that following Monday, August 31st. And voting this year is slightly different than in the past as well. We'll accept votes via our online form, which will be made available to you starting on the 24th. And we'll also post an album and the videos to our Facebook page for you to like either the photo or the video of your choosing, and we will count those as votes as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alex to talk about the prizes.
Thanks. So this year we're mixing up the prizes a little bit, and I think they're extra special. I know I'm excited about them. The grand prize picture winner is going to receive a $500 NAC sponsorship for next year's Health Center Week, for Health Center Week 2016, so that your health center can plan an awesome event and use that money to give, prizes or food or whatever you want to do for your event in the community. And of course, you'll also get a copy of the 2016 Health Center's calendar with your picture featured on the cover and in 1 month of the calendar, as well as the 2015 Health Center Week t-shirt. So pretty awesome grand prize. The 11 picture runner-ups will also have a spot in the 2016 Health Center's calendar as well, and they will get a canvas printout of their picture submission that you can then hang in your health center. As well, of course, as the 2015 Health Center t-shirt. So that is new this year, and I think super exciting. For the video contest, the winning video is going to also receive a $500 NAC sponsorship for next year's Health Center Week, a t-shirt, and of course we'll feature that winning video on our website, Campaign for America's Health Centers, and the Health Center Week website. And then the video runner-up, which is the video with the second most number of votes, will get a $250 NAC sponsorship for next Health Center Week and a 2015 National Health Center t-shirt. So some awesome prizes coming up.
Thanks, guys. And I just have to say, Alex, Elizabeth, and Dorian have really worked hard at trying to shape the contest this year to engage as many folks as we can and make sure that there's opportunity for as much participation as possible. But in particular, they've really worked hard at making sure you guys have absolutely everything that you need on the National Health Center Week website, both for the contest but also just in general. And so I have to give a big, big shout out to my team because they've really worked hard with everything else that's going on, just like everybody else, to make sure that we are ready to roll for National Health Center Week. So take advantage of this year's opportunities for the picture and the video contest. It's a lot of fun, and we're excited about being able to showcase all of the submissions that we get this year, but also our finalists once we get to that stage in the process. So get on the National Health Center Week website, take a look, and let us know if you have questions or if you need additional resources. So one last plug here, and then if we have questions, we can go ahead and take those. So again, just as a reminder to folks, if you have questions or you want us to spend a little bit more time on anything that we've covered today, go ahead and type that into the chat box and we'll take that up when we finish here. But another big plug, if you can, even today, but certainly as you get further along with your planning, make sure to post your event on the National Health Center Week website. The password is healthy, all in lowercase letters. For those of you that have used this interface before, it should remember your information. That's the beauty and the frustration of cookies. But make sure that you get your event information posted up there as soon as possible. The web address for that, again, is www.healthcenterweek.org/submit-your-event.cfm. And as I said, we'll make sure that we post these slides on the Health Center Week website so folks can have access to them once we wrap up today. So here is our contact information. You guys can reach us very easily. You see our phone number, our direct lines, and our email addresses. This is contact information for the advocacy team at iStreet, and we are really excited to work with you on National Health Center Week. There's so much to celebrate this year between what was a wonderful victory on HR 2 and all of the incredible advocacy work that's been going on for the last many, many months, the 50th anniversary, and just an incredibly bright future. So I thank all of you so much for being on the webinar today, and we're excited to hear from you and all that you have planned for National Health Center Week later this summer. So I'll stop there. Elizabeth, do we have any questions?
No, I actually don't see any other than people who are wanting to know if we will make the presentation available. And yes, we will post it to the Health Center Week website and send it out in the Washington update this week.
Great. Well, we will stop there. One big thank you, a final big thank you to our premier sponsor, McKesson, again, our premier National Health Center Week sponsor, for enabling us to grow the success of National Health Center Week year after year, and for their incredible support that goes right back to the ground locally to support health centers. Thank you again to all of you for participating today, and to the team for getting all of the resources ready to make this happen. So have a great day, everybody. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care.